Welcome to the Racing Podcast. This is the podcast where we will be talking about everything racing, motorsport, and cars in general related. So, what a weekend, man. That was some crazy Abu Dhabi Grand Prix right there.
Yeah, definitely, dude. That was dramatic to say the least. I mean, I don't know. The beginning was alright, you know. It was not too crazy, but the ending, man. Wow.
Yeah, the ending was quite crazy, but let's start it off in order of the way we saw it. Formula One racing.
Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Abu Dhabi. Young Lion versus Old Lion. We had Max versus Lewis Hamilton tied on points coming into this, but Max had one extra win over Hamilton. So if neither of them finished, then Max would have won. But it did not go that way.
Well, yeah, to start off, we had Max Verstappen in pole position after a crazy lap yesterday in qualifying. Lewis just got that quick start. Sergio Perez passed Norris to go into third, so he kind of balanced out. He lost the position to Hamilton, but
yeah. But Sergio moved up.
Sergio moving up was in the favor of Red Bull going into the beginning. Lewis, man, he had a lot of pace going into the beginning of the race, and it just kept getting faster.
I remember in the beginning we were watching, and when he got in front, he was honestly opening the gap. He was going to like 6. I think I saw it up to 5-6 seconds higher. All right, it was higher than 6 seconds.
I think 10 seconds.
You think 10 seconds?
I think 10 seconds or so.
Damn.
In the beginning, when Max's soft tires went out or were starting to go off, man, Lewis was on medium, so he was fine. He was pumping in the fast laps.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, basically in the beginning, all you saw was Max falling behind by a little bit, and Lewis just pumping in the purple sectors, purple laps. What was the next thing that changed the race?
Well, Max Verstappen pitted first.
I think Max pitted first because his softs were given out, and then in reaction, Hamilton pit.
But Verstappen still couldn't come out in front of Hamilton. He still came out behind. Verstappen still was behind Hamilton, but Perez stayed out, which was a key move by Red Bull, honestly.
That was
Perez
crazy.
stayed out and went to P1 when Lewis pitted. He was on old tires too, so he wasn't gonna be staying there for a long time. But he could do some damage to Lewis Hamilton's times,
and he did
by holding him up, which he did.
I know Kimi Räikkönen, because it was his last race, he got the driver of the day. But honestly, I think Checo out of everybody deserved that. I mean, I've got Max and but Checo, dude. If Hamilton was in front, Hamilton was going to be driving away. He's going to be up in the 15 seconds. But literally, Checo did just enough to where Max Verstappen could come to the general area, under a couple seconds. So because last race, Hamilton and the team made the mistake of changing their tires, which gave Max the position lead. He was P1 after. They really didn't want to make the same mistake now because it honestly would have cost them. But this is where luck came into play, and virtual safety car came out, and Red Bull went to change because at this point they're losing the championship, so they could try anything, right? I think it was 2 times. There's 2 virtual safety cars, and Lewis couldn't pit. But there was literally nothing they could do. They were just trapped in that position. So the second time they pit, Max came out with the softs. Second. I'll let my brother explain. He knows a little better.
So where were we?
So
we were after the first pit.
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton pit, came out in front of Max Verstappen, battled it out with Sergio Perez, which really helped out Max, helped him catch up in the race again. Even when Max caught up, Hamilton was still getting away because his car was just faster in the straights, to be honest. After a few laps, I believe Max Verstappen pitted again, switched onto new hards, and then started pumping in the purple sectors. And started trying to catch up again to Hamilton. And this is when, in the last few laps, I think under 10 laps left to go, Nicholas Latifi crashed into the wall, which caused the big yellow flag, right? Took some time to get the car off the track. There was 4 or 5 cars in between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen that were getting lapped, but they weren't really getting out the way because they had their own race going, with, fighting for P3 and other positions. Honestly, that was really affecting Max Verstappen until the yellow flag came, and then he had the chance to kind of catch up to the squad. And this is where the controversy starts. You want to go into it?
Yeah, let's go ahead and let's touch on this controversy. So we'll break it down first, what happened, and then I'll give my thoughts on why this is so controversial, and then my brother will give his thoughts too. So, after the safety car, there was big argument between Red Bull and the FIA about how they should be restarting this, if the Max should be right behind Lewis, or if the other cars are going to stay out. And also at the same time, there was only a couple of laps left of the race.
5 laps.
5 laps. So the potential that the race could have ended in a virtual safety car was very likely. Oh, sorry, it was an actual safety car. So the whole time, everybody thought it was just going to be none of the cars are going to get pushed out of the way of Max. But last minute, Mike the Legend Massey was like, yeah, okay. He's like, let's move him out the way. So Max was literally right next to Lewis. They're going like literally right next to each other. Creeping. And this is when the second part of the controversy starts. And I'll let my brother explain this one.
Yeah, I don't really know how to explain it until we discuss the ending of the race. But anyways, they were going like inching forward really slowly because Lewis Hamilton technically became the safety car once the actual safety car goes back into the pits, and the guy in front decides when to go again, and Max Verstappen or anyone really following behind is not allowed to overtake under a safety car. I mean, they were just inching forward, and it happened so that Max Verstappen's wing went like 1 inch forward, and after the race, Mercedes tried to protest against that and say that Max Verstappen violated the sporting code, but it was dismissed by the stewards because honestly it was so minor.
The way the race finished was they had a restart for one full lap. Max on the softs, Lewis on the used hards. So naturally, Max got ahead of Lewis, not on a turn you would expect, the turn before the turn to overtake, because he had to take his chances here. And he got ahead. They scrapped it out a little bit, and Max ended up finishing ahead. Oh man, you should have heard Toto Wolff on the radio. He was screaming, angry. I mean, it kind of makes sense, I guess. They're Mercedes, bro. They got used to winning. Now that it got taken away from them, they lost. They're like, come on.
Yeah, it's very competitive.
Yeah, it is competitive. They got to do what they have to. So they took their lawyers and they went down to the FIA. You know, Toto, the famous march down to the FIA. And he's like, hey, this is not the fair. So he had to, they had to get Christian Horner. Then they had to go in. This is like 30 minutes after the race. And there was talks of like, it could go to court if they don't decide. So after a really tense time, it ended up being that the suspension was just, they got rid of it pretty much, and Max won. So that's the controversial part, because now the Benz fans are saying that he pretty much got screwed out of a championship.
Yeah, I mean, they could argue that, and I guess you can see their point, you know, like, it was kind of a weird restart. Like, I think a lot of people were just confused, even other drivers, not even fighting in the championship. It
wasn't traditional.
But yeah, so the initial, like, protest by Mercedes was dismissed. So, you know, Max Verstappen's the champion. But Mercedes is still going to go ahead and appeal the judgment and try to go even further. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really know how that plays out. You think they can still flip the results?
Honestly, I think the results are final, but going forward, like, things have to change. Mr. Legendary Mike Massey, sir, is I don't think he's doing it right. You know, it's my first year in the sport, and already I can see where he's kind of making mistakes, and I'll explain right now. So early on in the season, a lot of things happened between Max and Lewis, where maybe one of them didn't get a penalty or something, like Mike Massey decided not to and let the racing go. In other words, the rules aren't clear. Basically, the rules aren't clear. Mike Massey makes up whatever he wants to, which usually flies during a regular race because everybody knows you got other races to come, you can make up the points. But when you set that precedent and you come to the final race and it's tied, then you make crazy decisions like this. Like, it puts a damper on the sport because you can't really enjoy it. From now on, every team that loses and it's close is just going to go to the FIA, and they can't even point to a rule and be like, oh yeah, this is the rule, because it doesn't exist. The FIA director at the time can make up his mind whenever he wants to. So that's my takeaway from the controversy. You got any thoughts?
You know, it's really interesting. I don't know which way to think about it. You know, I can see like everybody's points. You know, Mercedes is mad because it was a confusing restart, and they believe that Max Verstappen, you know, overtook Hamilton, which he didn't really. I mean, at the green flag, like Lewis still had the advantage, so there's nothing there.
Yeah.
The whole thing, I think, is about the restart and how the back markers, the cars that were lapped, were like told to overtake the safety car like so last minute.
Yeah.
That I don't know. They were just confused about that.
Yeah.
But to be fair to the FIA as well, like they were allowed to do that because it says that the race director can choose like what the safety car should do.
Yeah.
So like,
is it fair? You know, like it's not like he said something wrong. It's just weird.
Yeah, it's just weird, you know, and I don't know, like it's like lack of consistency, I suppose.
Yeah.
And like certain calls were kind of weird, but I don't know. It's just like it depends on the race. All the races have been different so far.
Yeah. Yeah, I can agree. So at the end of the day, the way I see it, it's like that's racing, man. Lou has won 7. I'm sure some of them could have gone the other way. You know, today just wasn't his day. Max got lucky. It's not even like I mean, Max is a good driver. Lewis is a good driver. You can't say like, you know, like one was like absolutely better and deserved the win today. But that's just racing, you know. Sometimes it goes your way. You have the luck. Sometimes it doesn't.
I mean, you could just go back to like last week with Max. He got like a 10-second penalty for getting hit in the back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Massey.
It's just weird. It's been really weird with the penalties. But, you know, the racing has been pretty cool.
Yeah, it has. Anyways, you know, we're talking a lot about Lewis and Max, but the whole weekend wasn't about Lewis and Max because throughout the grid in the back, there was still races going on. McLaren was fighting Ferrari, like individual races between them to see who lands where. So in third place came Carlos Sainz. And I was happy with that. I'm a Carlos fan. He's a smooth operator. I think the virtual safety car helped him out towards the end. And even during free practice and quali, didn't he crash? That was this year. Yeah, he crashed. He got out. So for him to start the weekend like on a low and then finish on third, that was pretty crazy. And then you can touch on number 4 because I know fourth place was crazy, dude. I didn't expect that at all.
Yeah, dude, you're right about that. In fourth place, Yuki Tsunoda.
Yuki!
I mean, that Honda engine, man, it really proved to be pretty good this year. Both Yuki and Pierre, 4 and 5, P4 and P5.
AlphaTauri, dude, making a fight.
That's pretty solid right there from both of them. Who do we have in P6?
Who was P5? P6 was Botas.
P5 was Pierre Gasly.
Oh, Gasly, yeah. P6 was Botas.
And I don't know about what happened with Botas. He should have been up there helping his teammate, but somehow he wasn't even in like 8th place at one point.
Yeah, I think Botas just messed up during quali. And then throughout the season, you've already seen like Botas has trouble coming up the pack. I think that's the difference between him and Hamilton and Max. Whenever you've seen Max and Hamilton drop to the back, like immediately you see him fighting up the grid. And it's kind of weird because Valtteri has the same car as Lewis, right? So you'd expect him to like make a good fight. But anyways, like that shouldn't take away from his long career at Mercedes. If you ask me, I think he was really like a Scottie Pippen if you were to compare to NBA. I don't think without him, Lewis would have had those 7. I don't think Benz would have had all those championships. He's been consistent throughout. He has his days, you know, he doesn't show up. But, you know, I'm kind of going to miss him in Benz. But I'm also excited to see what he can do next year at Alpine, right? Or is Alfa Romeo. Alfa Romeo, my bad. But he's not the only one leaving. There's other people leaving their teams.
Yeah, actually, the guy replacing Botas is leaving his team. George Russell from Williams was really out there defending Mercedes today. After the race. He was pretty upset with the results.
Yeah, so let's round off the top. Let's go through the order.
Yeah, so P7 was Lando Norris.
What was that?
P7, Lando Norris. P8 and P9 is Fernando Alonso and Esteban Ocon from Alpine. And solid performance from them as well. P11, Sebastian Vettel from Aston Martin. P10, Charles Leclerc. P12, Daniel Ricciardo. P13, Lance Stroll. And then followed by Michael Schumacher. Sergio Perez, man, he went all the way to 15th.
Yeah.
What happened there?
I think his car had like a power issue. Because that was weird. He shut down right before he could have got a podium. But yeah, it was good to see him too. Like, he helped out Max a lot. It looks like they have a really cool relationship. Because they were giving each other props in the media and all that. So that was really cool to see. And then there was a couple other people that did not finish. Who were those guys?
Yeah, the rest of the people that didn't finish were Antonio Giovinazzi, which is also his last race in F1 for now at least. He's moving on to Formula E next year.
Maybe we'll do a podcast on that.
Maybe. We might see him again. And then George Russell didn't finish, and Kimi Räikkönen.
Speaking of Kimi's retiring. It's kind of he's leaving, but he's retiring, so it's kind of different. Actually, this is his second time retiring. But I think this time it's for good, because he's an old man now. He seems pretty pissed off at like the F1 like life. He's such a simple man. I feel like he just wants to go home and chill with his family for like 30, 40 years. I don't know, maybe we'll say one thing that we're gonna miss about Kimi in the F1. I'll start it off. For me, his racing was good, but I wasn't watching F1 back in the day. So as a fan now, what I'm gonna miss the most is just his attitude, pretty much. He doesn't say much, but you feel him there, and everybody just has the same kind of respect for him. They see him, they're like, oh, I don't know where we stand. He doesn't really talk much, but he's a good racer and he's a nice guy. So I'm just gonna miss his off the track stuff. How about you?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really get a chance to watch his racing back in the day either, but honestly, just like whenever any icon of the sport like leaves, it's kind of sad, you know. You're gonna miss just like it's not just like talking about them like because they're so like iconic and popular, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like a big topic, such a big character.
He has a huge fan base too.
So yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will miss him, but you know, life goes on.
Yeah.
You gotta move on eventually.
He said that too. Yeah, so since the season's over, we're gonna move on to a couple of questions we're gonna answer about the season. First off, I want to start with, what was the biggest disappointment this year? Yeah, take it away if you have it in your mind.
I can't really think of too many disappointments. You know, it was a pretty solid season for most teams. Not all of them, but if I have to say, I would say like McLaren. You know, they came off to a pretty strong start. They got double podiums in Monza. Lando with the podium.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they had pretty solid performances, but I feel like towards the end of the season they kind of fell off to Ferrari, which I don't know why, but I guess that could be pretty disappointing for them.
Yeah, that's
They
true.
wanted to come out P3. That's what they've been aiming for.
And they got Danny Rick now. Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I think McLaren, but kind of, because Danny Rick coming into a new team, they're together for the first time. So I knew in the beginning it would be kind of hard, and I was actually hating on Danny Rick in the beginning, if you remember that. But then he won Monza, and then he started performing okay. But then Lando started going down, and he was getting a string of bad luck races, punctures, not finishing, the rain. So, you know, I couldn't really think of too many disappointments either, besides Haas. But Haas was like, you already knew coming into it they were going to be bad. They admitted it. They're like, it's all about the next year. It's all about the next year. So, yeah, biggest disappointment, probably McLaren. Second question, what was your biggest surprise?
My biggest surprise probably was AlphaTauri, dude. They really like Pierre Gasly especially. I mean, he performed pretty much the whole season.
Yeah, that's true.
Really good.
You can
And
tell he
then,
was motivated.
Obviously, Yuki Tsunoda came off to like an iffy start, but he got it going for the end of it, which is good. Hopefully next year we'll see a pretty solid performance from those guys.
That's true.
With a new car. They're still the same team, so I think they'll do pretty well.
Cool. Okay, and last question for the podcast. Next season, what are you the most excited for? I'll start this time since you went first last time. So, for me, the most exciting thing is that there's a new car, new regulation, and there's a lot of moving parts. So, I think it's going to be a little more fair, and you're going to see a lot of cars fighting each other out. Yeah, I think that's the one for me.
There's probably going to be a lot of competition next year for sure. I'm pretty excited to see how Ferrari performs, man.
Carlos Sainz?
They've been working on their new project for 2022.
Yeah.
I don't know, it'd be pretty cool to see Ferrari up there in the podiums.
It's always a classic.
That'd be cool. Let me ask you one question. Your favorite race from this season, 2021?
So since I'm a new fan, I haven't really watched too many races. But from the ones I've watched, my favorite one was probably Mexico. And that's just because Max and Checo got it, and then they were holding the flag. Like, I don't know, it was a cool vibe there. No, you gotta answer it too.
I was going to say Mexico as well, but you stole my answer.
Yeah.
But if I had to go for another one, I would probably say Zandvoort. I mean, I feel like the atmosphere there for Max Verstappen was unreal, man.
Yeah,
Winning in your hometown, that was wild. That was a good race.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's a cool track too.
That's true.
Hopefully they race there next year. I think they
will,
are.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is it for this time. Like and sub if you want to hear some more podcasts from the racing podcast about any kinds of racing. And we will be uploading once a week from now on. We'll see you.
See you guys soon.